If you don't know where 1 Kings is, it's in the Old Testament, past Deuteronomy, past 1st and 2nd Samuel. 1 Kings chapter 3. Oh, 1 Kings chapter 3, starting in verse 16. Reading through verse 28. You found it, say amen? Amen. Now, two women who were harlots came to the king and stood before him. And one woman said, "O my lord, this woman and I dwell in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. Then it happened, the third day after I had given birth, that this woman also gave birth, and we were together. No one was with us in the house, except the two of us in the house. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. So she arose in the middle of the night and took my son from my side, while your maidservant slept, and laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to nurse my son, there he was dead. But when I had examined him in the morning, indeed he was not my son, whom I had borne." Then the other woman said, Not, but the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son. And the first woman said, No, but the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. And the king said, "The one says, This is my son who lives, and your son is the dead one. And the other says, No, but your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one." Then the king said, "Bring me a sword." So they brought a sword before the king, and the king said, "Divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other." Then the woman whose son was living spoke to the king, for she yearned with compassion for her son. And she said, "O my lord, give the living child, and by no means kill him. Give her the living child, and by no means kill him." But the other said, "Let him be neither mine nor yours, but divide him." So the king answered and said, "Give the first woman the living child, and by no means kill him. She is his mother." And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had rendered. And they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to administer justice. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. As you all know, I preach in series, right? So that means that I tend to stay on a topic for several weeks. A lot of it has to do with growing up, walking into church, and when I started paying attention to sermons, I noticed from week to week I didn't know, and it never seemed to connect, so it was a potpourri of stuff. It's not real conducive to learning. Consequently, it is difficult for me to interrupt a series because of a special day. And if you ask me, every day is special, but we got these special days that I have to interrupt a series. I don't like to. I have preached on Mother's Day for the past 18 years or more, except for one time. And what I found is, as I go through the Bible looking for mothers to talk about, just ain't that many. So, I come to this Mother's Day and said, you know, there's got to be something in this Bible, some mother I haven't talked about. I said, if I don't find one, I'm going back into the series. And you all will just be, I guess, disappointed. And for whatever reason, the Lord said, oh no, there are two mothers that I want you to talk about. And they're harlots. That's an old word. It means prostitute. So, we come to this particular passage of Scripture. And again, I'm not going to force the Bible to say something it's not supposed to. I've got to stop buying these books. Still working. So, we're doing Bible study style. I can't do anything. All right, so we'll do this Bible study style. So, whenever I'm forced into having to put together a sermon for a special day, especially one like this, I find it difficult that I have to come up with something that's going to satisfy you and me both. However, today, this is pretty interesting stuff. It's interesting because, again, I got two harlots. I just got to say this up front. I'm going to show you how good God is.
All right.
Two prostitutes. One of them is going to find justice. Even a prostitute that is a mother, God looks after.
Amen.
I used to say that he saves from the guttermost to the uttermost, that he looks to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And the fact that we have these two prostitutes to talk about today really made this stand out for me. There was a young mother in South Wales who started on a journey. She wasn't going too far, but in the middle of her journey, she was walking with her infant child. She got caught in a blizzard. The blizzard was so bad she couldn't make it. So when they went searching for her and they found her body out in the snow, and they noticed that her outer garments had been taken off. And when they lifted her body, to their surprise and joy, she had taken off her outer garments, wrapped them around her infant child, and laid on top of the child. And the child was still alive. Even though she had died, she saved her child's life. Now, the story would be really cool at that point. That's pretty good. But the reason that a lot of people on the other side of the pond, so to speak, know about this story is because this child grew up to become David Lloyd George, who was the Prime Minister of England back in World War I. And when you think about it, here was a mother who sacrificed herself not knowing what her child would become, but what kind of love does a mother have that she's willing to lay her life down for her child? One of the things that we know about a mother's love is that a mother's love is as close to the kind of love God has for us. If we're looking for some kind of earthly example, you look at the love between a mother and a child to begin to understand the type of love that God has. Now, I'm going to say this about that. It's the love that is shown from a mother to an infant or a baby. As they get older, I think the mother's love changes a little bit. But when they're babies, that love that a mother has for that child is just about exactly the kind of love that we call agape that God has for us. So what I want to do is I want to kind of go through this story. Most of you have heard it, but I want to go through it, point out a couple of things, but I want to get down to the two women and show you a mother's love and what it looks like. Now, first of all, this is what had happened. Solomon is very young at this point in his life, and he's become king. Now, he's got to fulfill the shoes of David, his father. Now, David was the greatest king that Israel had ever seen, so it's kind of difficult to come in behind that kind of greatness and be worth anything. So if you'll look back up towards the beginning of the chapter, what you will see is that Solomon, as a young man, looks at what is before him, being king, and in the midst of worshiping and going to do some sacrifices to the Lord and to get his heart and mind right, he has a dream. And in the dream, God says to him, "What do you want? I'll give you anything you want." God says, basically, I'm going to open it up. Whatever you want. What do you want? You want to be rich? What do you want? And then I want you to look in verse number 9. In verse number 9, Solomon asked for something that if God asked you, "What do you want?" you probably wouldn't ask for. "Therefore, give to your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours? Now, Solomon asked for an understanding heart so that he could judge the people. Now, first of all, there is a reason that he asked for this understanding heart. I want you to look at the end of the verse. He says, for who is able to judge this great people of yours? You've got to catch it or you'll miss it. He didn't say, who is able to judge this great people? He put this preposition at the end. He said, of yours. Solomon at a young age recognized that in order to be able to do what he needed to do as king, the first thing he had to understand was he did not own the people. The people were not his. They were God's people. And if they're God's people, only God knows about his people. Solomon is basically saying, I'm not you, which was different than just about any other king you would read about in the Bible, because most of them had this thing where after a while they thought they were God. Solomon starts out as a young man saying, it's a whole bunch of folks you want me to be king over, and they're not my people, they're your people. I need an understanding heart. And he says, it's because I can't judge them. They are your people, so how can I do that? And he says, the real reason here is I want to discern between good and evil. In order for me to be able to discern between good and evil, I have to understand that they are your people, so you're going to have to give me an understanding heart. You know what Solomon was saying? Solomon was saying, my heart isn't in this. The kind of heart that I have won't do it. In other words, my intellect, my emotions, and my will are not lined up in a way that would allow me to do this. So I have to have a change from you. Give me the kind of heart that is understanding. Change my intellect to understand that I have to see things from your eyes. Change me emotionally so that I can be cold enough to say I'm going to cut two babies in half. Give me what I need in order to judge your people. So that's the background of this. And anytime you go to God asking God for something that God is wanting to give you, God will give it to you and then show you that you have it. I want you to get that. The Bible tells us that if we want wisdom, we can ask for it. That's what it says in James. If you want wisdom, ask, and God will give it to you. Now, here's the thing. When you ask for God for something that lines up with his will, when he gives it to you, he's going to test you to show you that you actually have it. So as soon as Solomon gets this wisdom from God, the first thing that God does is he brings him an unsolvable problem. It's unsolvable. Because in verse 16 it says, now two women who were harlots came to the king. How in the world did two prostitutes get to the court of the king? See, you'll miss it if you don't think about it. How in the world, with all of the people that he's got to judge, how did he get two prostitutes up there? Well, if you're a Bible geek, and if you'll go back, and if you'll think about Moses, Moses was trying to judge everything that happened when he brought the children of Israel out. And it was his father-in-law that came to him and said, look, you can't do all of this. You can't do this. What you need to do is you need to set men in place that can judge. And when they have something that they can't judge, let it come up a little bit higher to another set, another group of men. So that by the time it gets to you, it's the stuff that no one else can figure out. So you're not sitting there, judging between two people because one of them stole the other one's chicken. Just, somebody else can do that. You, Moses, need to get the stuff that's hard. They kept this as they became a nation. This is how you got before the king. So think of it this way. This is like getting before the Supreme Court. All right? So evidently, when these two women went to the first judge, that first judge said, nothing I can do here. I don't know. How can you tell whose baby it is? Because here's the thing. First of all, it says that they were living together. If they are living together, because of the way that Israel was set up, they're probably from the same tribe. And if they're from the same tribe, they probably have the same attributes, characteristics. They probably look a lot alike. So their babies, who are only a few days old, probably look a lot alike. It says that they were in the house by themselves. By the way, they were single mothers. No husband showed up. These were harlots. They probably didn't know who the daddy was. There was nobody in the house. No family showed up. Nobody knows whose child is whose. You ever seen a baby that's brand new? Seen another baby that's brand new? I mean, some of them look a lot alike. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of babies to me look like blobs. When they first born, you don't know what, you can see a few things here and there, but for the most part, they grow out of that first look. So these judges are looking at it going, okay, well, do we have any witnesses that can identify? No. So it's just between, is she said, she said. All right, I can't handle it, pass them up. And finally, they come before Solomon. Now, everybody's kind of watching Solomon because he's this young king, and we got to see whether or not he can figure out what to do with this mess. So, what we have before us then is a tragedy. Look at verse 19. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. That's tragic. What that means is that she laid her child down next to her like any good mother would do, and somewhere in the night, in her sleep, she rolled over, smothered the child, killing the child. Now, here's the thing. When you look at a mother's love, can you imagine what she felt like when she woke up and realized she had killed her child? Can't imagine. This is a funny thing about love, period. There's a song, and some of y'all are going to know what I'm talking about. Some of you are probably too young to know. But love will make you do wrong. Love will make you do right. Reverend Green sang that song. Love will have you doing some things that you don't need to do. This woman, in her state of despair, decided she was going to steal a child. Now I'm going to explain to you why she would steal a child in just a moment, but I want you to understand she's distraught. She's not in her right mind. Love ever make you crazy? Love ever have you acting foolishly? Love ever mess you up? A mother's love would do that. I think about the mother of the boy who, when he was a teenager, got drunk and killed some kids, and he got off. And around here, we were looking at him because he had so much money and privilege. We were like, wow, look at this. He kind of gets off. And then when they went to get him, remember, he took off to Mexico. Yeah. Who went with him? His mother. He's wrong as two left feet, and she's right there with him. Why did she go? Because she loved him. That's the kind of love that a mother has. A mother will even do wrong when it comes to her child. So this woman, in this tragedy, does something. Verse 20, so she arose in the middle of the night, took my son from my side while your maidservant slept, and laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And here's something even more tragic. This other woman wakes up, the baby's dead, so you know she's distraught. But as she examines the child, as she looks at the child, she realizes the child is not hers. Now she's going to go to the other woman. Now I know a lot of you ladies are like, I'd have whooped her tail. Right? You know, I'd have beat her down. I don't know why she did it. But for whatever reason, she took her through the legal system. Now, I believe that God designed this so that we could see a couple of things that had to do with Solomon, but he also showed us something else about a mother's love. So, then we get down to verses 21 and 22. It's impossible to prove who's lying. It's between, it's mine, it's not yours, it's mine, it's not yours, it's hers, it's not hers, it's back and forth, and Solomon is sitting in the middle of this, and what in the world can Solomon do? So, I want to show you the love of a mother in what Solomon does. Because what Solomon does, when we get to verse 23, is Solomon comes up with a test that will help him discern who the mother is. But I want you to skip down to verse 28. And I want to show you something there. It says, and all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had rendered, and they feared the king, for they saw the wisdom of who? God was in him. Now, the wisdom of God. Does this mean that Solomon had God coming to him and God did this? I don't think so. The wisdom of God means this. Solomon, in his wisdom is the skills that you need in order to make decisions. That's what wisdom is. If you want to define it, that's what it means. It means to have the skills to make decisions, choices, to get them right. So, what Solomon did was Solomon used God as a reference point to make a decision. What he did was, remember how this said, showed you earlier that Solomon said, these are your people, and I gotta judge your people. So he's looking at now, I've got two mothers before me, and who created mothers? God did. So God, in his creation of mothers, now puts Solomon in a position to say, what I need to understand is, what is it about mothers that makes them different than anyone else? So everything that I'm about to say, and I know this is going to go out over the radio, don't come to me and say, Kevin, I think your statements are rather sexist, because they're biblical. If you're going to get mad at me, get mad at God for what I'm about to tell you. Ladies, God made you a certain way. He created you a certain way. I have something called a smartphone. My smartphone is hardwired to do something. Let me tell you what it's hardwired to do. It's hardwired to transmit and receive voice and digital information, data, and display it either verbally, vocally, audibly, or through a video. That's what it does. It doesn't do anything else. But see, my Android has an operating system that every now and then they actually update and change the programming. And when they change the programming, the hardwired piece is still there, but in the programming, what happens is, literally overnight, I click update. When I get up the next day, it's like I got a brand new phone. The funny thing is, it's still hardwired the same. It's still just transmitting and receiving like it did before. But now, it's just transmitting in a way that looks different to me. But it's still doing what it's supposed to be doing. Ladies, God hardwired you in a certain way. Back in Genesis, at the fall of man, God did something with a woman in his hardwiring, and he tells the woman this, and this is what he says. He says basically to the woman, look, you and your husband are going to have some issues that come between you. You're going to have some problems. You're basically going to try to usurp his authority. That's a good old King James word. Usurp means take. You're going to try to take his authority, and he's not going to want you to take it, and y'all are going to have conflicts. My married people know what I'm talking about. I don't know if Adrian just admitted she tries to take my authority away from me. But he said that in the midst of all of this, your desire will still be to your husband. And now, when you read it in the Hebrew, it's from a sexual connotation, meaning that even though, because he's told them that they're going to bear children in pain, you're still going to have this desire to your husband to have the children. And ladies, think about it. No epidural.
That's the way I have it.
No painkiller. Pain. When he said pain, it's going to hurt. And yet, you're hardwired to still have the baby.
Amen. Amen.
But we try to reprogram things. There's a difference between a biblical mother and a modern day mother. Somebody tried to change the operating system. I don't know if it was NOW, the National Organization of Women, a satanically run system. Yeah, I said it. Satan's all in this stuff. Got us so mixed up and messed up. I mean, there's such a difference between a biblical mother and a modern day mother. And like I said, don't get mad at me. But your modern day mothers just want to have a baby. Period. Because you're hardwired, so I guess I just need to have a baby. A biblical mother says I need to have a husband.
Amen.
I got one amen out of that. Y'all didn't hear what let me say it one more time. Modern day mothers say, I just want a baby. Biblical mothers say, I need a husband. Then I have the baby. Modern day mothers say, I can bring home the baby. Biblical mothers say, I cook it. Don't get mad. Let me just say this. I learned this, something I was told in seminary. Something I was told in seminary that I looked back at it and I thought, yeah, you know, that's right. My seminary president, he made this statement. He said, women, modern day women don't want to cook anymore. And don't want to cook for children anymore. They don't. They just don't. And he said, here's the thing. If you grew up with a mother that actually cooked, the love that you felt, and all I could think of was, because I was raised the second part of my childhood by my grandmother. All I could think of is before he could say it, I was like, man, I used to get out of school, walking home, and all I was thinking about was what has my grandmother cooked today? I felt the love because I knew she took the time to cook. And my best friend, if he were in here today, Byron would tell you that there were times when we would be 6 to 8 blocks from the house. He lived next door to me, and I would say, Granny cooked chicken. And he would say, huh? I said, I can smell it. Man, we half a mile from the house. I can smell it. Nobody else can smell it, but I could smell it. And when I walked in the house, I was happy. I was happy to come home to the meal. How many kids get that kind of love today? Don't get mad at me. Mama's too busy bringing home bacon. There ain't nobody there to cook it. Modern day women, mothers, say, I have to have a life. I have to have a life. I need a life. Biblical mother says, the husband and the kids are my life. Modern day mothers say, I'm trying to build self-esteem in my child. Biblical mothers say, I'm trying to build self-control. There's a difference. Esteeming God, having self-control, behavior. Modern day mothers have a lot of issues with behavioral issues with their children because they're not trying to teach them to have self-control. They're trying to make them feel good about themselves. See, when your child feels good enough about themselves, they're going to turn around and tell you, I feel great about me. I'm going to do what me wants. Modern day mothers are into the understanding their child are a reflection of them physically. So they might dress them up. They want them to look good. As a matter of fact, modern day mothers choose a husband or choose a father figure based on how that father looks. With the understanding of, see, if they look good, my child's gonna look good.
That's crazy.
You get a good looking idiot.
Right.
It's all about how it looks. It's not about what it should be, because a biblical mother says, I am concerned with my child reflecting me from a spiritual, mental, and emotional place. Is my child spiritually where they need to be? Are they emotionally where they need to be? Are they mentally where they need to be? When people see my child, they say, well behaved or good looking. You know, that good looking little boy, but who he's bad. We hear that all the time. Oh, he's so handsome, but he's bad. And the mothers are bragging on it. Oh, my son is just bad. He look good though.
No.
Yeah, he'll look good in jail. The modern day mother says, I need time for myself. They're constantly looking for time for themselves. I call them the drop-off folks. They're going to drop kid off everywhere they can. Just drop them, don't care. Boom, I'm gone. Kid got allergies. Hey, can I ask you anything? Kid got allergies, anything I ain't supposed to? Gone. Don't worry. They'll be all right. They act up, beat them. The biblical mother makes time for the child.
Amen.
That's what the biblical mother. The biblical mother says, I need to make more time for my child. I need to invest more into my child. There's a difference. The modern day mother keeps her child distracted.
Yes, Lord.
Keeps her child distracted. Television.
pacifiers, whatever. Let me just shove something in your mouth. Anything to shut you up, keep you quiet, go in the corner, get away, just get away from me, do whatever I gotta do to keep them distracted. If you chop them in the throat, they can't, I don't say they can't holler, but I ain't gonna tell you to chop them in the throat. I'm not gonna say that. But think about it. But the biblical mother keeps the child directed, focused, doing something constructive. It's not just get away here, play with this, here, take this, eat this, drink this, do whatever. You're hollering again. We got to understand there is a difference. Moses understood how God had created the mother. See, here's the thing. This is what's going on. So let me say this about the modern day mother. She's still hardwired, but she's programmed differently. Because it works like this. A mother's love needs an object to love. Ladies, those of you that have had children and your children are older or grown or whatever, you know that feeling you get when you see a baby? That feeling you start thinking, maybe I want another one. No, you don't. See, what's going on is it's that hard wiring in you that says, I need something like this baby that is real needy. That's what the hard wiring is. The hard wiring tells you need a real needy something that cannot do anything for itself. And then when you get reprogrammed, what ends up happening is you replace a baby with yourself, or you confuse your husband with a baby. Amen. You confuse your husband with a baby. You want your husband to be real needy. See, you're looking for and yearning for this infant, this person that needs you for everything because God has hardwired you that way. That's for a baby. Your husband ain't no baby.
Amen.
Your husband's not a baby. There's a difference. There's a difference. But as a mother, you have this hard wiring in you that says, I really want someone who needs me totally. How in the world can anybody survive having someone that every 3 hours you got to feed? Every 3 hours you got to feed him, and you know soon after feeding him, you got to do what? Change a diaper. But if you get reprogrammed, when you have the baby, if your programming is off and you replace yourself with the baby, then you're upset about everything that goes along with the baby. If you find yourself that way and you're a mother, the problem that you have is you've allowed this world to reprogram you. Don't let the world reprogram you. Get back to the biblical basics because you are hardwired to be this way. Solomon understood the hardwiring of a mother. A mother is hardwired that can handle what goes on with a baby. A mother's hardwired in such a way that a mother understands the cries of the baby. That's the hungry cry. That's the diaper cry. Oh, that's colic. Start to find that out. And then when you have your second child, you're an expert. You got it down. Now, on the other hand, men are not hardwired like this. They're not. And if there's anyone that could ever be a baby doctor, it's my brother. My brother knows more about babies than any man I know. Because he got about 6 of them. And I said that for a while. I'm like, dude, you know a little too much. You know some stuff you don't need to know. That's the mother's job. And I remember him telling me, oh, see, you old-fashioned. No, I'm being Bible. So let me just say this. Everybody, don't get mad at me, but let me just say this. It's a man's job to get out of that world.
Amen.
It's a man's job to get out of that world and make a living for his family. It's a woman's job to be a worker at home.
Amen.
Doesn't mean she can't have a job, but it means her home comes first. That means that those children come second. To her husband.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
The children need to see that so they understand how to be husbands and wives when they grow up. Oh, boy. My wife said, say it again. Children come second. husband comes first. My husband's an idiot. You married him. You still got to do it the way you are hardwired. Because God first, before the child showed up, he hardwired you to be a help meet for your husband.
Amen.
Now, for those of you that are single mothers, through whatever way, well, guess what? This is one of the reasons God gave you the church. The church can step in and help. Help to be that other part that is mixed in the brokenness of that particular situation that you're in. So it's not that you're doomed, because you're not. We've seen many women raise children on their own, right? It happens. God has also fixed it where, yes, you can't go make the bacon and then bring it home and cook it. You can do that. Not too many guys can do that. We focus in on one thing. That's why we need you. Amen?
Amen.
This must be really harsh on some of y'all. You want to leave? Don't. So what Solomon does is Solomon comes up with this test. Because he understands how a woman is hardwired. And what he understands is that the real mother is going to sacrifice everything in her life for her child. The real mother who needs the object understands that if the object is gone, they don't have anything. They're willing to give up whatever they have to give up for their child. It's another thing that bothers me about modern day women. They won't give up anything for the child. That goes back to, I got to have a life. I got to have a social life. Why? If you wanted a social life, you shouldn't have had the baby.
Amen. Amen.
Why the rest of y'all ain't saying anything?
Amen.
Absolutely. If you wanted to have a social life, be social. You took your socializing a little too far. There are consequences. There are consequences. So when you have someone else there, they are now in charge. That's the other thing. A biblical mother understands the child's actually in charge. You didn't know that? The child is in charge. A baby will tell you what to do. You say, I'm going to sleep. The baby says, no, you're not. And who wins? The baby does. And as they grow up, you think it's going to get better. It doesn't. Because I want to play soccer. Where are you at?
Soccer.
Where you want to be? Home. Who's in charge? Right? They grow up. They get to high school. You want to buy stuff, but they got to graduate. Who wins? They do. Because you're so proud of them. Right? But see, that's your child. If your child needs to graduate, I ain't paying for it. That's your motherly love at work. You're willing to do for them whatever you have to do. And again, Solomon knows that. So, when we get down here to verse number 26, I want to show you something. Then the woman whose son was living spoke to the king, for she yearned with compassion. You see that word compassion? In the Hebrew language, that word compassion means womb. This is really mind-boggling to me. It means womb. It means new beginning. I want you to understand, the woman whose child this was wanted to be sure that she could give her child a new beginning. That new beginning meant one without her. She had enough compassion, enough womb in her, that she said, oh my Lord, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I want my child, but if push comes to shove, I am trying to give my child a new beginning. I don't want an ending for my child. This encapsulates what a real mother has for her child. Wanting to give the child a good life, a better life, a new beginning. Compassion for the child. What blows me away is that having been a youth pastor, having served in a capacity where I was ministering to kids, I ran into too many parents that have been reprogrammed, too many mothers that have been reprogrammed to think my child shouldn't do better than me.
Amen. Yes, Lord.
Too many times I ran into that. The child's gonna go off to college. They think they something. You didn't go. They're gonna what you buy that old big old house for. You ought to be happy. They're supposed to outdo you.
Amen.
They're supposed to do better than you.
Amen.
And by the way, you should want them to, so that when you get old, they don't stick you in some rest home in a corner somewhere under the government. Amen. I wish Trinity was in here. Don't let her know, hey, look, when Daddy get old, Daddy wants you to be able to take care of him. You do well. You do real good. I want you to have the resource to handle me. I don't want to be stuck away someplace because I was ticked off and didn't want my child to do as good. That just doesn't make sense to me. My child should struggle. Why? I had to struggle, they have to struggle. Wrong. You struggle so they wouldn't. That's the way it's supposed to be. So Solomon, understanding all of that, this woman says what she says. The other one says, let him be neither mine nor yours, but divide him. Let me tell you what's wrong with her. She lost the object of her love. When she's lost the object of her love, when she had no place to place her love, bitterness came in place. And she lost her mind. What we don't see in this story is that, did Solomon do something to her? And I kind of think that he didn't, because Solomon understood what was going on with her. Can you imagine your child dying and the other person having their child there, and they snapped, lost it. Insanity takes place. You just took away the object of my love. You took away the hard-wiring piece of me that had been fulfilled for a few days, and it's gone. It's gone. So she lost her mind a little bit. Solomon knew one of them was crazy. He knew love that drove them crazy. He knew the other one was going to have love that was going to make her sacrifice. He never intended to kill this baby. So he did what he did. And when the first woman had said what she said, verse 27, so the king answered and said, give the first woman the living child, and by no means kill him. She is his mother. Mothers are recognized by their willingness to sacrifice for their children. Now here, I use the word sacrifice. The mother that makes it convenient for herself, that's not mothering. That's called babysitting. That's what babysitters do. They make it convenient. You know, the babysitter sets a time to watch a child. They make everything convenient. A babysitter wants to be paid for watching the child. Everything is convenient. A babysitter says, I'm going to get something out of this. The mother that says, I'm going to get something out of this, I'm going to make it convenient for me, that is a babysitter. That is not a mother. A mother says, I'm going to sacrifice for my child. Where are you going to have to sacrifice? Mostly is time. Now let me tell you where you're really going to have to sacrifice. It's when you don't feel like it. It's when you want to do something else, but the needs of your child come before your own needs. Now, by definition, that's agape love. Agape love is when you overcome your own will, your own desire to do and meet the needs of another person. That's what agape love is. Every other love is conditional. Every other love is conditioned on whether or not I like you at this moment. What have you done for me that I'm going to do for you? If you're that kind of, you make me sick so I can't do something for you, you're messing with your hard wiring. You're messing with it. Because a mother's love says, no matter what's going on with me, I'm going to take care of my child. A mother's love says that if I'm walking out in a blizzard and I see that I'm going to die, but I have my child with me, I'm going to take my clothes off, wrap my child with them, and I'm going to get on top of them. And though I die, they get to live. That's what a mother's love looks like. The funny thing is, God's love looks like that. Because God said, I see that my creation is going to die. Because me being the just God that I am, somebody got to die for what Adam did. So what did God do? God wrapped himself up in the filth of humanity. came down and died in man's place. Why? So that man could live forever. That's why I said, if you want to understand the love of God, look at the love of a mother for her child. It is interesting how God placed before us the very example that we could look at in order to understand his sacrifice for us. See, as you celebrate Mother's Day, and as you think about all the things your mother has done for you, and you look back over your life and you realize she made some sacrifices. There were some things she wanted to do that she didn't do, but instead she put you first. What you're actually looking at is the God that you serve, reflected in your mother. God did some stuff for us. God sacrificed for us. God blessed us when we didn't deserve it. God's grace watched over us when we should have been dead. And yet and still, God has this kind of love. And if you'll remember that on this Mother's Day, when you hug your mother, understand, you're hugging God. God bless you.